Hey, greetings and welcome to the Waters of Healing. I am your host, Baba Luqman, here with Ray Wilkerson. And let us first begin by thanking the Creator for giving us the gift of life, intelligence, and awareness. We seek the Creator's guidance and help. We acknowledge our humanness and that we are creatures that rely upon earth, and in that we must develop a healthy relationship with everyone and everything around us, as we believe that a developed person is one who isn't in conflict with his surroundings. The Waters of Healing is intended to provide a safe, non-judgmental space for Black men to talk about issues that are specific to us. This is an exclusive space open to all Black males, no matter your religion, class, nor sexual identity. If you identify yourself as a Black man, then you are welcomed here. So, along with my co-host Ray, and how you doing, Ray?
Doing as these old folks say, I am hunky dory peachy cream. Excited tonight.
Hey man, look, man, good to be back, man. So hey Ray, before we start this show, man, we got this thing where we know we have to have our affirmations, right? So Ray, why don't you lead us, man, in reciting the Black man's affirmations?
Here we go. Everybody get ready. And this is something that's going to hit your spirit. Stay open, have your spirit open, because this is moving. I believe in myself and my abilities. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with my masculinity. I am not toxic. Next, I give up my power to no one. Next, I am doing my best every day. Next, I love myself for who I am. Next, I am in charge of my own happiness. Next, I accept 100% responsibility for my own life. Next, I make no mistakes. Are there for me to learn from. They are me to learn from. They do not define me. Next, I am the protector and provider of my family and my community. Next, I am grateful for every day. Next, I am a Black man created in the image of the Almighty.
All right,
and let that hit your spirit. But while that's hitting your spirit, I need you to hit that like button. I need you to hit that share button. I need you to hit that notification button. I need you to hit that thing. Let that thing hit your spirit, and let your fingers hit them buttons.
Hey, thanks, Ray. Hey, look, Ray. So, man, look, this is another week, man. Another episode of healing, man. So, how's everything going in your world, man?
Listen, I look. My world is constantly taking people from a place of darkness, a place of homelessness, a place of despair, a place of hurt and misunderstanding, and bringing them out into a place of security in their lives with their families. Placing people right now, I'm in this project, placing these people that were in hurricanes and moving them into places of stability. And man, you should be seeing God moving in a mighty way.
I know that's right. And the reason why I asked you that, Ray, because this is going to be our topic tonight. When we come back, we're going to discuss what does it mean for men to lead. Because I mean, brother, you are a leader. I am a leader, and we're out there, doing things, man. And what we want to do is we want to know what does it mean for men to lead, and what makes an effective leader. So when we come back, man, we're going to talk about this, Ray. You and I, we're going to chop this up. So please stay with us. So we are back. You know, we often hear men being told to man up, that men are to reclaim their place in the home and the community. And everyone from Steve Harvey to TD Jakes, even President Barack Obama, all are telling us to be responsible fathers, to pull up our pants and get an education. Men have marched to atone for perceived sins against their families and communities. But what does it all, what does, let me go back. No, because it hasn't came up all the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where are we?
Yeah, what does it all of this mean? So let me go back down.
Okay.
All right. Welcome back. We often hear men being told to man up, that men are to reclaim their place in the home and in the community. And everyone from Steve Harvey to TD Jakes have all weighed in on reforming the male character. And this often translates to men occupying a specific role in the family and the community. Even former President Barack Obama constantly reminded Black men to be responsible fathers, to pull their pants up and get an education. Men have marched to atone for perceived sins against their families and communities. But what does it all mean? Why are we constantly telling men that they need to man up? Well, I think that there should be some points that should be made. First of all, what does it mean to be a leader? How is that achieved? Are we putting the cart before the horse? And that does it take men to mentor other men without the interference of women and institutions? So Ray, you know, what you think about this, Ray? I mean, all you know, we hear this all the time about, you know, guys like Steve Harvey and others always telling men, like, you know, and you've been hearing this a lot. I've heard this a lot. You know, men, y'all just need to man up. You know, y'all need to take your place in the community. You need to take your place in the family, and, you know, and stop being this way and stop being that way. And, you know, and we need to support our women. I mean, you've heard this. I've heard this plenty times before, but yet we still constantly keep coming back to this place. As I mentioned earlier, even Barack Obama, you know, he made, well, Bill Cosby too. I mean, they basically, man, like beat up on Black men. I think sometimes unjustly and unfairly, but, you know, but Black men are an easy target, Ray. Don't you think that when it comes to this type of chastisement, that Black men seem to be an easy target? I always say to gain points with others. What do you think?
And you know, when you came up with this topic, I really had to ponder that thing, and it's amazing because you really can't. I mean, for me, as what, you know, the first question was, what does it take to be a leader? And yes, people beat up on Black men, or they beat up on the ability of Black men to so-called be on leaders. But then there's this side that I look at, right? And there's this side that I personally look at it is, am I giving you an opportunity to beat me up? You see? Okay. Am I doing certain things, right? That opens up a door that you can beat me up. Now, in saying that, it always goes back to history. It always goes back, you know, nobody don't want to take the history, bring it to the front, and how we're going to deal with this in the present. Okay. So we have been defined by ourselves when we were growing. And it comes back to this again, because and people, please stay with me. We're always defined by the culture or the environment that we grew up in. We don't know, nobody never want to deal with that. Nobody don't ever want to deal with those issues, right? Because it's easy for you to beat up on me. If I came from the projects and I'm selling drugs and I'm doing all these other things, right? It's easy for you to beat up on me saying you could do better, you could do better. But the reality is, this was my do better.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
My do better was when I went to that refrigerator and it was empty. My do better was as I was manning up, right? I went and did what I had to do to put something in the refrigerator. Does that make me a bad person? Does that say you can beat up on me? He ain't nothing but a drug dealer. But the reality is, I have no avenue to create any type of wealth or starting from a starting point of I'm passing go like in Monopoly, but no one's giving me $200.
Right, right,
You see, so now I'll do what I have to do till I do what I have to do. Meaning, I'm going to do what I have to do, and once I do what I have to do, then I need to change.
mm-hmm.
See, nobody don't talk about the Kennedys and the Rockefellers. See, they created their wealth on bootleg liquor and all that stuff, right? But then they took that money and flipped it to where they are now, where we created wealth. But when we do this, we get beat up on, and we don't have the opportunity or the knowledge to take them ill-gotten gains to flip it to make it, watch this, to make it positive for our community.
Right, right.
So they want to beat up on the black man, and we beat up on ourselves. But then I got to look at it, man. I gave people opportunity to beat me up, right? But when I didn't know no better. But now, as I grow older, now if I have a better understanding, you can't beat me up. You can't define me because I know who I am.
Right, right. Well,
So,
I mean, I agree. But I wanted to take it back. I think because a lot of guys would be listening to this, and you're spot on, Ray. You're definitely spot on with this. I want to take it back to where it all began. You and I, when we first started this podcast, the first thing that we did was we introduced ourselves, and we kind of gave like a little background on where we came from and what really a lot of the struggles and stuff that you and I both have, which is pretty much similar. But I want to go back to the time, and I guess I use my own life as a reference point. Coming up in a single parent household, a female-led household, not having any brothers, being the oldest male child, not having any male mentorship around me. My father, I love him dearly, but he was at a different stage at that, in his life at the time. And so I didn't benefit from that relationship, didn't benefit from the male relationships that my mother had. Either I was perceived as a threat to the relationship, or I just wasn't. They just didn't deal with me at all. And so I go out, and we bond with our male friends as we were coming up, and most of my friends didn't have any fathers in the home, and so we were just going along and trying to figure this thing out on our own, and you know what I'm talking about. And I want to go to that point where plenty of times where I had nobody to really show me, I got what my mother wanted out of a man. Like, what I mean by that is my mother would constantly tell me what a man should be, and even at that time it seemed like, okay, but that goes against my natural inclination of what a man should be. Like, my mother would always stress all the time, and I think a lot of us who grew up in female-led households would hear all the time how a man should treat a woman, and that's the lesson I got all the time. A man should be should treat a woman like this. A man should never hit a woman. A man should never this. But there was there was nobody around to show me how to tie a tie. The basic male stuff. My grandfather was there, but he came on the weekends. So I guess what I'm saying is that when we talk about leadership, I think that in my early childhood, the earliest examples that I had of what I perceived as a man actually being a leader in the household was my grandfather. Now, even though my grandfather would come to the house on the weekends, my grandmother, the example that they showed to us, and especially to me as a male child, is that when my grandfather was there, he was the king. I mean, like, he didn't live with us, like he would come on the weekends. But when he came there, my grandmother doted on him. We couldn't eat until he ate. I mean, you could tell, man, that he was in charge, And so as a male child, when I looked at that, I said, wow, my grandmother made sure that my grandfather got that respect. Now, there was times when things would, wasn't always right, alcoholism and all of the other dysfunctions that come with just growing up in the hood. But but in spite of all of that, man, the fights, the cussing out, and all of the dysfunction, there still was this respect for my grandfather. Like no matter what mistakes he made, and he made quite a few of them, that as I recall. But no matter what respects he made, I mean, what mistakes he made, that respect was never like we were never told not to respect him. It was never shown by my grandmother, no matter what my grandfather did, that he didn't deserve this certain amount of respect. But as I gotten older, I seen that, what I've seen with my grandfather and my grandmother's relationship somehow changed when I became an adult. Things have changed. And so I guess where I'm getting at is when you talk about we leave ourselves open for critique. I'm sitting here like, if you never gotten that lesson in the beginning, if you never gotten that mentorship, because I think that you can be blamed or leave yourself open, as you say, if you already know, but if you don't know, then how is that leaving yourself open to critique? Because I mean, you don't know. So I mean, so how do we deal with this type of how do we deal in defining, I guess, for kids like me that grew up and had to listen to the misinformation that was out there in the street from the hustlers, the pimps, and then becoming incarcerated and listening to them jokers inside. How do we start to, Ray, get a healthy sense of being leaders? Because I really do believe that as men, we do have to lead. I really do believe that. I guess I really do believe that we have to be leaders, and that we have to exhibit leadership qualities. But in the way that a lot of us start off, I guess, and in a lot of the journey that we've done, that we made, how can we from now start to have a healthy definition of what being a leader is?
Well, in 2021, this might, you can't be a leader in 2021.
And why is that?
Because the culture now, because the young folk now believe they don't need leaders. You said that, so as much as, I'm looking at the culture of today. I'm looking at what's happening now. When you look at, I was a part of a couple of conscious movements and stuff like that, and they wanted to share, share thoughts, and it was always filibuster. You never got nothing done because there was not one person that had the voice to command the respect and authority that you're talking about as a leader.
Right.
Because their premise is this. Their premise is, well, when Malcolm died, when Martin died, when Stokely died, when all these, Kwame, when all these leaders died, there was nobody to take over. Instead of learning from our mistakes from our past leaders to make sure we had somebody in place when that was done, nowadays they believe it's everything has to be done by a collective. Everything must be done by agreement. We all, I was listening to a podcast with some other people the other day talking about, oh man, we got plenty of leaders. We got plenty of leaders. Just ain't nobody listening to them. And then let's define. It said, let's kind of define this thing as far as we talk about what does it mean to be a good leader? Okay, here's our problem. Okay, who are examples as a leader? As young black men, you said something powerful, right? You said our grandfathers, our matriarchs led the family.
Right.
But when we walked out the door, you know what I'm saying? That's a different type of leadership. You see? So if we starting to define leadership, that can be so broad. We really have to narrow it down. What have God placed me on this earth to lead? What specific plan that I have? There's a purpose for my life. There's something that nobody else can do. There's people attached to me. How do I be an example? How do I be that light? How for those who God has assigned to me to lead? You see, sometimes I think we're trying to be like Martin, we're trying to be like Malcolm, and we're trying to get all these different people to follow us. But there only is a specific crew for it. I believe, this is what I believe, that if we each lead who God assigned to us, I believe we could make a difference. Because it's like in the body, in our body, you have many members in your body. You got your hands, you got your ears, you got your eyes.
Right.
Each one of them have a function.
Right.
So I have a particular function to lead a particular type of people that is here on earth. So I understand my purpose and I understand what God wants me to lead, and I get a full understanding of who I'm supposed to lead. But more importantly, where am I leading them to? That I have an understanding where I need to take them, or what is the end result, what is the destination that we're trying to get to. And I believe each one of us has that, and then when we come to collective, if I look, because whatever it is, the leadership that God has for you, I have to be mature enough. I have to be man enough to defer in that area of your life and support and push your movement.
Right. Right.
Your purpose. And I think our battle, especially as black men and being prideful, I think we don't know how to defer. We don't know how to, because most of us don't know why we were here. No, most of us don't know what we were created for. Most of us don't know that there's a purpose and plan for their life. Most of us don't know that there's something specific other than just going to work to that 9 to 5. That there are people there. Listen, lead your household. That's the first and foremost. But at some point, when you have to step outside of your household, who has God assigned to get that understanding? You said it yourself. When we were younger, we didn't know.
That's right.
But we get the blame for something we didn't know based on the people who are supposed to be telling us.
Exactly.
So I believe, here's where I'm at in my life right now. I believe there's a remnant that God has assigned for me. I believe that if you notice, I talk a lot about spiritual warfare. Why? Because people are getting bombarded. Their minds are getting bombarded. They're being influenced by things, right? So I understand that is my, if you want to say that is my niche, that is my purpose. So I stay focused. No matter what nobody say, you can't move me from that. And I know I'm only assigned to those who God has assigned to do that particular plan or that particular ministry or whatever you want to call it, who wants to be trained and lifted and moved to a place to make a difference in people's lives in a community that will make us free.
Right. I mean, Ray, you hit it. You really hit the nail on the head. And I mean, we find ourselves as black men in a very peculiar situation, because you're right. Because of the way that our families have been attacked, the way that we have to deal with men being forced out of the home, mass incarceration, the proliferation of addiction and unemployment, or let's say this, not just unemployment, but how about underemployment? Many of us who can't afford on a salary to even take care of the basic needs of our family, and so we find ourselves in and one of the things that I think that you really hit on the head, and because this is a male space and we have to have these difficult conversations, I mentioned that the women basically, the culture's changed. A lot of these women weren't doing what my grandmother was doing, for whatever reasons. But the culture has changed. There was an emphasis placed upon, women getting education. You've seen this trajectory where what we knew, or what I knew, to be this stable unit. And I'm not saying that is right or wrong. Let me get that clear. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but for men of our generation, they grew up seeing that. And then, as you say, about how in 2021, we know we're not getting that anymore. And I think that, and this is just my opinion, I think that we do have to somehow adapt to that dynamic. But we're not going to be able to force people to live within this certain paradigm. But all right, but let me say this. I think that one of the things for me, when I start looking at the situation that we're facing, and some of us are going to be further along on this journey than others, but I think that the first thing that we need to do, and you stated this, and I agree right along with you, is that we have to somehow get to know who we are. Because I think you're right, Ray. We all come with different abilities. We come with different levels of skills, different temperaments, all of these things. We're not all the same. And so I think that part of this journey has to do with understanding who we are, and who we are, and as you say, what our purpose is. Now, that's not an easy thing when you talk about purpose. It takes a lot of us years to finally realize what our purpose is. But I think that if I was to take the young me, if I was to take the adolescent me, and somehow I went back in time or something, and take the adolescent me, I think one of the things that I would do with me as an adolescent is basically start with the basics. A lot of us, Ray, especially as when we were coming up, really didn't have a healthy sense of. We didn't have a healthy. We didn't have a healthy sense of self-acceptance. If that's what, self-acceptance. I know a lot of us was faking the funk, as we say, but a lot of us were walking around insecure, not knowing, not really accepting ourselves on a deep level. And so when I look at people talking about, well, man up, you need to man up, you need to man up. And I used to always get angry at that because I'm saying, well, first of all, we don't even know who we are. What is a man? When you say man, what is that? A lot of us don't even know who we are. So, so here we are telling someone to man up, and we're basically saying, well, these are the type of criterion that a man should fit. Well, you just said it. In 2021, that criterion, man, is like out the door now. So what do we do now? We still got a community to lead. We still got, family structures that still depend on us. We still have a community that depends on us. So, so how do we fit within this dynamic? And so we're going to talk about this when we come back, Ray, because I really like to know what your opinion is on this. And so when we come back, then Ray, then we're going to finish chopping this thing up. So stay tuned. This is the Waters of Healing with Ray Wilkerson and Baba Luqman. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to the Waters of Healing. I am Baba Luqman, along with my co-host Ray Wilkerson. And Ray, we were just having this conversation about what does it mean from journeying from where we are to where we should be. And look, this is not going to be the only time we discuss this, because I think that this topic is very important. This is something that we as men really need. But yeah. So anyway, to kick that back to you. What is your thoughts on what I was just talking about earlier?
Well, first, let me just, I got to respond to something you said before you asked the question. And basically what you was asked, how we're going to achieve this thing, staying in line with what we're talking about. But when you was talking about the mothers now and the kids, and they're not getting the stuff that we were getting. Well, my grandmom, right? My grandma was like 56,
Mm-hmm.
40, 50 years old. You have grandmothers who are now 30, 31.
Yep.
You have mothers who are 15, 16, and 17 raising children without the experience of life. So when we look at that dynamics, right, that explains why the younger people or the children aren't getting what they need to get, because the people who need to give it to them have not experienced life to be able to give it to them. There's a big difference between a 32-year-old grandmother and a 45-year-old grandmother.
At least it should be.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. At least it should
Let's let's just assume because you got some but let's say the majority let's stay with the premise of what you were talking about, based on the ones from when we grew up.
Mm-hmm.
You still have some wild grandmothers or grandpa, but the majority were the matriarchs.
Right.
It's hard to be a matriarch at 32 years old and you still hit the club.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? It's hard, teaching young boys about something, and let's go on the man's side. You're a young boy yourself. Look, I had my first son. I was in 10th grade.
Right. Right.
What could I teach my son? I didn't start teaching my son until I was 50 years old.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I'm just keeping it real. Why? Because even in our community, and this is just something why a lot of us black men can't not lead, and so the reality, we just got to deal with some things. So I started getting high when I was in 9th grade, 11, 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old. And we have to understand, a lot of us were getting high, 14, 15 years old. And right, we do that continuously. Well, what we don't realize is at the point that we start getting high at that particular time, our maturity stops.
Yes, that's right.
So just because I'm 42, if I'm still getting high, I'm still behaving like I'm 16. Let me give you an example. If you go back and see some of your homeboys who were back in the day, think about somebody who's still doing the same things. Think about some of their conversations. Their first conversation, man, you remember.
Right. Remember when?
Remember that our whole conversation is reminiscing. We could be standing there for an hour. Nothing about today, nothing about current events, nothing about very seldom if they're in that same mood.
Mm.
So when you talk about leadership, right? When you talk about how do we achieve leadership, right? See, there's that's like, that's like a never ending, how can I say, a never ending response, because there's so many things, so many variables that plays a part in to how do we achieve that? Because each man is different. But so for me, how do and it got to come back to the same thing. I just believe this in my heart. I believe, when we talk about purpose, actually it's really not hard for guys to know their purpose. I actually knew it when I was younger. I just didn't do it. Because what I'm doing now is exactly what I always done. I always help the underdog. I always help people who weren't. I always help people who needed help. I always help. The guy they called the nerd in school. I always help them. You know what I'm saying? So,
but Ray, didn't you have? I'm just asking.
Okay.
Did you have someone? Did you have someone to help point that out to you, or you just knew?
No. Let me clarify. I know now, based on how I was living, what my purpose was when I was younger. Now, I didn't know it then.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't even when I was out there getting high, right? I always treated people right. I always watch this. this is crazy. This is crazy. When everybody ran out of money, and I wanted to make sure I was the one that went out and did the crazy stuff.
Oh, you too, huh?
Yeah, I was the one to say, "Oh no, I got this."
Right.
Because I believe out of all my boys, I can handle prison better.
Mm-hmm.
I was leading then. It just wasn't positive. I was leading then.
Right.
What the reality came to me is when I finally sober up and got some clarity. Actually, you want to know something? Cause I do the same thing now that I was doing when I was getting high. I just do it for the right reason now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? The same exact thing. Helping people, doing those things. So how do we achieve this thing? Let me answer you. Let me give you my opinion. And I really don't have that answer for how do we achieve it. But what I do know is this. I know that I have to focus once again on the ones that are placed before me.
Right.
And I believe if we each do that in our community, it'll make a difference. Give me an example. When I walk into this building, we're in the building, this hotel. You had over 300 home displaced people, and when I walk into the ballroom where we have all the different agencies, FEMA, HUD, and all those things,
Mm-hmm.
I'm under none. Look, watch this. I'm not under no illusion that I know when I walk in there, I'm a leader in my respected area, meaning I am an SME. I am a subject matter expert. I am an expert in the matter that that God has chosen me for. And I believe when we start understanding that all of us are expert in a certain area, whatever that area is, like you said, yeah, it could be cloudy. I can't hear it. But the only way we can achieve leadership, it has to come to the same point. At some point, I have to humble myself as a black man and allow somebody to impart something in me, allow me to hear something that I can't hear, and then get honest with myself when I look around. Listen, nobody didn't tell me I had to change my life. I didn't need nobody preaching Jesus. I didn't need nobody telling me I needed to go to rehab. I didn't need when I really got honest with myself and I looked around in this dark building with candles and everything, it was obvious to me that something was wrong. It is obvious to each one of us as black men that if we're looking around and we're seeing the condition that we're in, and deep down inside, in that crack house, in the middle of the night, stinking, smelling, I came to a clarity of saying to myself, I'm better than this. That happens to each one of us as black men. And when we understand we're better than this, and we get honest with ourselves about what's going on, it's not, nobody can beat me down, nobody can talk bad about me. I came to the conclusion, I came to the reality that where I'm with my present condition is, I caused this thing by making some bad decisions, and I had to humble myself. And look, this white man told me, he said, you know what your problem is? At 40-something years old, you can't make good decisions.
Mm.
And guess what? If we get to reality and see what our life looked like, and we get honest with ourselves, and I don't mean truthful. Truthful just means I got caught and now I'm telling the truth.
Right.
Honesty is a way of life. If I really get honest with myself as a black man and knowing that I am better than this, the condition that I'm in, and that look, we said it in our affirmation, and nobody can keep me down from my greatness, and there are souls attached to me, and they'll never see or never reach their potential unless they see it in my life. Until we get to that point as individuals, we'll never achieve leadership in the fear of influence in our personal life.
You are so. I mean, man, that's powerful, man. That's powerful, and I'm glad that you brought up the affirmations, because that's one thing as black men we don't really experience a lot coming up. Are the affirmations or people, or people believing in us. I don't know if you saw this video of Iyanla Van Zandt. I believe her name is Iyanla. Fix Your Life. Iyanla.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, but man, we get tongue tied on them.
Right. But she had Ray, and this really bothered me. she had there was a show that she did, where she this woman was really berating her son, like her son, and her son's a good dude, man. I mean, he's married, taking care of his wife. I mean, doing, being responsible. He's not on drugs. He doesn't have a prison record. Yet his mama is sitting up there talking about she don't respect him as a man. I mean, really just like, man, tearing this brother down, man, or more and more. So Ayala, she told the mother, and this, I mean, the lady, man, the mother was so like you could see you can see in the man's face, man, how he's just being torn down, how spirit. They say the eyes are the window to the soul. And you can see in this man's eyes, man, like, he just felt like, man, look, he just you could just feel, man, he just feel beat down. And so Ayala said to her, she said, she said in our culture, talking about African culture, she said, there was a time when the men would come get the boy at a certain age. She said, because we women could be manipulative emotionally to our sons. And so she made this comment. She said, mothers destroy sons. Now, the reason why that made such an impact on me, because I'm never going to forget, and I've got a couple of these examples, Ray, that I can talk about. But this one example haunted me, man, for a long time when I think about it. And when I was living in Newark, New Jersey, man, I remember going to the store, and one of them old pizza stores or something like that. And when I went there, man, I heard I ran into somebody that I knew, and we was outside the shop talking, and I heard this woman, this young girl cussing. I mean, man, she was like, "You ain't getting this mother effing this, and who the F you think you are? You ain't white. You don't know. You ain't get." And I'm telling my man, I said, man, she pissed off at somebody in there. And she was cussing so bad and so loud, like I thought she was getting ready to get into a fight with whoever it was. Ray, let me tell you something, man. When I turned around and looked in that store, this girl, because I couldn't call her a woman, man. This girl was saying all of this, man, to a 3-year-old black boy. So the guy that was with me, he looked around and he said, Abdus, he said, you see what I'm seeing? I said, yeah, man, I see what you're seeing. And this boy stood there while this woman, man, just cussed him out as if he was an adult. And I said to the brother, man, I said, this kid, man, I said, if he stays with her, he ain't gonna be worth nothing, man. This kid's spirit is already being destroyed. And see, so often, man, that we don't get honest about the way, man, that a lot of our boys are being destroyed, man, by bitter women, by the system, the child support system and all these other systems. We don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about how because of the matriarchal setup of the way a lot of black families are, that a lot of our boys are not being nurtured. They're not being shown any love. A lot of these mamas are mad with the fathers and they taking it out on the sons. All of this stuff, man, and I mean, it was just so heartbreaking, man, when I saw this in this Ayana video, because it immediately took me back to when I seen that 3-year-old boy. Now, this boy probably a teenager now. It's been some years ago. But, I would love to know how this kid, where he at in his life now. But so many of our men, man, get emotionally abused and get emasculated, as I said in one of my posts, right in their own home. The white man ain't even got to them yet. And already they emasculated in their own homes, man. So one of the things that Ray, that I could say in my own example, man, is that my mother didn't treat me like that, not in that kind of verbal violence. But my mother, dropped the ball in other ways when it came to me, man. She didn't have any faith in me in a lot of areas. Overprotective. A lot of these mothers, man, smother these boys and don't allow them to grow, while encouraging their daughters to be independent and go out there and tackle the world, but they smother the boys and allow the boys, man, to just, run like weeds. And I'm not, a lot of people say this, oh, you just blaming the women. It's not that. What I'm saying is that part of saving these boys, man, is when I was coming up, man, I had Mr. Darby, who lived across the street, who ran the corner store, who saw me being just a boy with a single mother. And even when I was in grade school, he offered me a job at his store because he ran a corner store. Black man. And, and he thought that I was a kid worth mentoring. And so he brought me in the store. I ain't do no work, but sat there and ate chicken wings and stuff with him. But he used to have me with him every day. We saw other examples of men on our street where, even though they might not have been in our family, but we saw other men who would take the time. And I think, Ray, that we got to get back to that, man. Like, we got to get back to us men, those of us who know what our purpose is. Like, what your purpose is. I know what my purpose is. We got to get back to that state, man, where, man, we got to go and start to be, first of all, it starts with being an example. It starts to be being that example. I don't know how many times, man, even on our platform that we got right now, how many young men hit me up in my inbox and saying, man, the way you and Miss Jackie, man, y'all are such a wonderful couple, man. I wish I want what y'all got. Me and Jackie had a little heated thing on our stream the other day, man. But the way we handled it, man, I had men, man, hit me in my inbox talking about, yo, Baba, man, the way that I know you was mad, man, but, you and Miss Jackie, y'all showed how even in disagreement, y'all could be classy about it. So, Ray, I mean, man, so, there is so much that, like you say, that we can really bring to the table, even in 2021, man, when it comes to starting to heal the men. Because when the men are healed, then the women will start healing. And if the women ain't going to start healing when the men heal, then they just got to go somewhere else. But when the men start healing, then the women start healing, man. And then hopefully the kids start healing. So, I mean, I know I said a lot there, man, but
no, you said a lot of good stuff, because I'm telling you, I was feeling that whole thing. Yeah, and I was looking at the show too. I saw that going on, but I said, that's just my cousins. They okay. But but yeah,
I know that's right.
But so that's going to kind of bring us to you. One of the things we said was it takes men to mentor other men without interference of women and institutions.
Yes,
you see,
yes, sir.
It's men. Men. Let me share you something with y'all, men. We are imparters. Women are receivers. We impart the sperm. The woman receives it, and a child comes out. Okay. If I put my wife in the kitchen with no pots, no pans, no food comes out. Nothing happens. If I put her in the kitchen with some pots, some pans, and some food, I get a meal. Watch this. If I'm yelling and cussing at my wife and I'm putting that in her, yelling and cussing gonna come out.
You got that right.
Hello.
You got that right.
We are imparters. Women are receivers. What we are putting in them has to come out.
Come on now.
I'm just saying, even those single mothers, what type of relationship were they in with that man before they had the baby? Was he treating her good? What was he putting stuff in her that stuff that came out of her that's causing her to be like she is? Because right. It had to come from somewhere. Nah. You see, so we men, we got to think about, what are you putting in your wife? What are you putting in this one? Even if you look, what are you putting in your baby mama? Right,
there you go. Come on.
What you putting in your baby mama? So we got to take some responsibility for their behavior if we really understand it, that we are imparters and women are receivers. Now, don't get me wrong, they can abort some stuff too. but so here's the thing. Remember back in the day, you go 6 blocks over, You did something wrong. Somebody's mom or dad can pop you in the head. Call your mom. If y'all had a phone, by the time you got home, you got another beat.
Yep.
So what happened? We were getting mentored.
Yeah.
With no interference, right? From women. Actually, they were participating in the mentoring.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. Yes,
so now we have come to a point because they're so fractured and damaged. Now, y'all can take this any way you want. We have to take personal responsibility for that woman, that child, that baby mama, or whoever, the stuff that we put in her that she's now taking out on your son or your daughter. So now we have to say, okay, I need to fix my son or daughter. Listen, right now, I need you to get out the way because you are damaged goods.
That's right.
Okay. Right. So now we get her out the way. We say, I need to look. Let some of the men in the community take care of this. Let some of the men. But while we're mentoring these young people, right, they're still going back home to a damaged family.
Yeah, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So at some point, we and I looked at that question and it just hit me right there. So we have to mentor. We got to mentor these young boys without the interference of the mothers who's damaged. But at the same time, we have to as men, we have to take responsibility in causing some of that damage. And at the same time, we have to help get a solution for them.
You know, Ray, what I wanted to say, man, I remember one time, man. I was doing wrong, you know what I mean? I was doing wrong. And it was a woman, man, who used to who I used to go see. And we used to all sit around, drink and get high and play cards and stuff. And I remember one time, man, when I went over to the house and she would keep the kids upstairs. And I remember, man, she had a son, around about, I think he probably was maybe about 9, 10 years old at the time. And he came downstairs, man, and he told his mom that he was hungry. And his mom, she said, go on upstairs, go on upstairs. And, he said, Mom, I'm hungry. Go upstairs, And so I said to her, I said, why don't you just fix the kids something to eat? Not knowing she ain't got nothing to eat, nothing in the refrigerator, So I said, well, fix the kids something to eat. And she was like, oh, they be all right there. They be all right. So I already I knew without embarrassing her any further that she didn't have anything to eat. So I got up and I said, I'm going to the liquor store. I'll be right back. So on my way to the liquor store, I stopped by Fairs. Fairs in Camden.
I know Fairs.
Yeah. So yeah. So I stopped by Fairs Market, man. Got her a meat packet, some food because she had like 3 kids, and I must have spent like a little over $100, man. And I brought the food back to the house, man. And of course her pride and stuff, oh, you ain't had to do all that. Yeah, well, here, take this. I said, feed them damn kids, Now, I say that not for no pat on the back. I say that, man, because even in the state of me doing wrong, we still had enough from our community that instilled in us that we still, even getting high and stuff, man, it was still instilled in me that I still was responsible somehow to this woman and her kids who was part of our community. And that as a man, and I think that's important, Ray, because you said something like that too. Like even though in my lower state, as a man, I knew that I had some responsibility here. They ain't my kids. I ain't got nothing with this woman, but it was, but as a man, I just felt like I couldn't sit here and watch this woman's kids not have nothing to eat, or even watch this woman have kids in this house and not be able to feed them anything, if you know what I mean. So I think you're right when you start talking about that purpose thing. Like there is something in you as a man, especially when you see examples around you. Because like I said, I didn't have the mentorship, but I did see positive male role models around me. And even at my lower state, when I was out doing wrong, that example still was carried in me, even during that state. So, yeah, you're right, man, when you was talking earlier about even during those times, man, when we was off track, that you still took that leadership role and said, look, this going to be on me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. This going to be on me. And the fact that we could take that and flip it in our lives now and be like, look, if I could be responsible for a woman and her kids that ain't mine as an addict, then I mean, hey man, look, when all those other issues are gone, I mean, I'm still who I am, and that's still in me, but it's even better now because you ain't clouded with all the other kind of stuff. So I mean, I'm glad you brought that point up, man, because that's I mean, if we can do that in that state, then you're right. That purpose was already in us.
Yeah, and this is my last example because man, and you just bringing up stuff. You're bringing stuff out of me. Listen, every woman that I dealt with, I changed them.
Wow.
And every man that they dealt with after dealing with me felt the consequences.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Look, so I had some of my, they were very nice, petite, sweet. But when I got done with them, every man after never seen that real person that I saw before what I did to that person that changed them to what thing that they were never created to be.
I know that's right.
Yeah. So, man. Yeah. So leadership, man. Leading also means we got to go correct some stuff.
Say that again, man. Because that is true.
It's some stuff. We have to correct. A good look. I know, for me, right, that my cognitive thinking at some point believed that right was wrong and wrong was right. But now that I have clarity, or as they say now that I'm woke, there is no excuse for me not to correct the errors of my ways.
Wow.
And guess what? Sometimes it just means correcting how I think, my perception about something. It doesn't mean it always, my perception, the way I see things is the way it's supposed to be. And I have to correct my thinking. I have to correct my focus. I have to correct my nature. I have to correct some of my character. I have to correct some of my traditions and all those things, right? That formulated me into who I think I am, right? But it gave me a false sense of superiority in certain areas as a man, my pride and all that stuff. So when I look at a certain thing and someone challenges me about a certain thing that has been embedded in me, I have to correct the fact that, you know what, just maybe that person could be right.
Right.
And just maybe out of and it's real hard. It's real hard. Just maybe I could be wrong. Just maybe what my perception of, you said this, just maybe my perception of what a man is supposed to be. Because some people think a man is when that woman says something, smack her in her mouth.
Right.
You lead my perception of leading a family means to lead in terror with an iron fist. But I'm leading my house. I'm paying the bills. The electric's staying on. I'm keeping food in the refrigerator because you know what? Because look, they know when I walk in there. They know when I walk in there. Hey, when I walk, my look. So my boys is cowering down. I'm teaching them how to be soft.
That's right.
So and I love every time you say, because you be like, you are a proponent of the black man, because you will always say this, we're not gonna be bashing no black man, right? Then you always say it, and I gotta catch myself because I be ready to bash black men. No, not in the sense of, and I want to be clarity, not to bash them in the sense of I bash them in the sense of me.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it has to get to this point. Man, listen. Hold on. Wait a second. Watch this. There is nothing wrong with my masculinity. I am not toxic. I give up my power to no one. Well,
That's right.
here's our problem, right? There's nothing wrong with my masculinity that I don't know what masculinity is. And because I don't know what masculinity is, my perception of masculinity is real toxic. And because it's real toxic, now I have given my power over to somebody else to tell me to tell me what to do, right? How do I know that? Because I wind up in prison.
There you go. And you definitely gonna be told what to do there.
The affirmations is look, yeah, we gotta read that every time.
Every time.
We might even need to do a show on one at a time.
Hey, that sounds like a plan too.
Yeah. So our questions was what does it mean to be a leader? What does it mean to be a leader? It just means for us, for clarity purposes, being a leader is just be able to lead your life into the purpose that God has for you, that other people can see the positive in your life, and those that are chosen to follow you will follow.
And and if you got a problem with God, then just think of good orderly direction. G-O-D.
Real simple, it's real simple. It don't matter, whatever you want to say. Right. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying we coming down up on our time though, man. But I want you to finish your thought, man. So, because this has been very, very cathartic for me.
And so I'm leaving you with this. Regardless of what anybody say, you actually are leading. You're a leader right now. It's just where you leading people to and where you leading to. It's real simple. We have to take an honest approach. We got to take an honest look at ourselves. Our leadership skills never diminished, right? We can be leading somebody to something good. But more importantly, are we leading ourselves to the purpose and plan that's for our life?
That's right.
So have faith in what your purpose is. But I'm going to leave you with this thought about faith. Doubt will always come when faith is in your life. Doubt likes to attack faith. Doubt likes to tell you that you have no faith. But I'm here to tell you, the fact that you have doubt proves that you have faith. Turn it over to you, cuz.
Man, look, man. Bro, I'm sitting up here, man, really beaming, man. My heart is really glad, man, that you could tell when the spirit is moving, man, because it ain't no fake thing, man. I feel the spirit moving, man. So, Ray, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate all of you who have shown up today, man, to sit and talk with us, man, and being underneath the knowledge tree, as I call it.
Yeah.
And look, next week, Ray and I are going to talk about this thing. There's been a lot of things about the alpha male, the beta male, and all this other kind of stuff. Well, Ray and I, we're going to talk about what does these terms really mean, and if they mean anything at all. So meet us here back on the Waters of Healing next Saturday, if God willing and the creek don't rise. Peace.
Peace out. Holla.